Okay, hello once again. I'm Petar Dragic, and today I will be your host, and it will be my pleasure to present you actually what is new in our last version of the PowerPad solution with the name PowerPad V25. After this short introduction, I will go directly to present you new features in software solution PowerPad. And as you can see here, first I will show you our new Beam features, actually what we already developed more for Beam tools, how you can to create your custom or you create Beam properties, make classification, how you can to now use command for IFC exporting. You will see also our upgraded IFC command for importing. Then I will show you also how you can smoothly exchange, of course, different files from different software solutions with the PowerPad. After that, I will show you our expanded support library with the new utility polls. Also, new command for directly 3D previewing 3D models from the current project that you're working. We also add some new features for geospatial data. You will see it. We add option for loading web map service. Also, we upgraded command for loading online maps. And we also upgraded the existing commands for surface, actually for creating surface or for editing surface. Also, what we work or what we already done in this version, we actually optimize process with creating a large thin surface and also with attaching and managing point clouds. You will see also upgraded command for printing. And for the end, I will show you actually redefined or refined, better to say, our new user interface. Of course, at the end of webinar, we will have Q&A section, and feel free to the webinar to put your questions in Q&A section. Before I start with live demonstration, I also want to, for all of you who are first time, answer, or better to say, provide answers on two most asked questions when someone first see for first time our software solution. And usually what we usually getting like question is where can be PowerPad applied? Answer is PowerPad as a software solution for designing power lines can be applied for transmission and also for distribution power lines. Another the most asked question is PowerPad standalone solution or CAD plugin solution for some other CAD or BIM software solutions? The answer is PowerPad is a standalone solution and it is created for designing power lines, but also in background, PowerPad contains all functionalities for 2D design and 3D modeling any of other technical documentation, better to say technical objects. Let's go now directly in new PowerPad V25. And before I start to present you actually new features for all of you who are first time, I will create actually just two alignments to show you how it looks. And after that, I will show you all of that new features. Okay, in my example, I have survey data, and based on that, I will quickly create the surface. For example, if you just select one entity, you will see that is the point with XYZ coordinate. And based on that survey data, I will quickly create surface. I will go here to create surface from points. Sorry. Here, you need to choose the create surface from points or polylines. When I select this command, I need to select my input data, press enter, and surface will be created. When you click on the surface in property panel, you will see actually the main information regarding this surface. For better visibility, I will turn off triangulation and I will go in layout view. Now, I wanted to show you how you can design new power line. First, I will create the power line with already predefined name stations, also names of the poles. And I will choose maybe this tower for designing this first power line. and I will go on command draw. Also here I select to drape actually instantly on surface and click on command draw, and as you can to see, drawing actually power line or defining power line is very simple, like defining polyline. What is one of the biggest advantages in our solution is when you have created 2D alignment, you can immediately see how it looks in 3D. And it means once you create the alignment, automatically all elements are creating in 3D. What is the next step? Next step is to add insulators on these towers. And I will go here to add insulator. I need to select the tower, and I need to select on which attachment point I want to add insulator. I will select this attachment point, and I will use this model, and I will press OK. As you can see, now I add insulator just on one attachment point and one pole or tower. If I want to add on all, I can use command edit insulator, select one tower, and here from drop down menu, I will use this model to add insulators to all of my poles on this alignment. I will here apply it to all supports and press OK. Now, if I zoom on one tower, you will see that insulators are added on this support. Next step is to add conductors. I need to select on which alignment I want to add. Then I need to select the conductor model. I will use this one and select attachment point. Let's press OK. Repeat this command to add second and third phase. And as you can see, I have now added conductors. What is also important, when you look, the insulators and conductors are on the right position. Once you have created alignment with all of these elements, you can of course edit it because all elements are connected. For example, if you move some element, it will be automatically connected. Okay, this is one example. I want also to add another example with another model. If I'm going here to draw again power line, I will define it like power line 2, but now I want to choose another pole, this one, and select to drape on existing surface, and I will just create this alignment with 3 poles. Now I will go here to add insulator, select it. I will add another model of insulator, and same, let's use that insulator for all poles. Press OK. Then in next step, if I'm going in 3D view, I need to add conductors. Also, it is possible to add in 2D preview or layout, but I will go here in 3D to be more understandable for you. And I will add with another conductor model. Let's use this one. Repeat it for another attachment point. And once again, let's use this one. And okay, if I zoom it, you will see that I'm already designed actually 2 alignments of my power line. For, of course, all of you who are first time, all of that, the most important element of your project, you can find here in Project Explorer. If I go in here on surface, you will see that I create surface 1. Then you will see that I create power lines like power line 1 and power line 2. Okay. Let's go now on the features in V25. Actually, we add new functionalities for BIM tools. And if you're going here for BIM panel or BIM actually tools, you will see that we now have the command for add power line property sets, also command for edit BIM properties, also command for classify manually, and command for unclassify already classified element. To be more clear, in the previous version, when you want to create the BIM model, you have just option to create alignment as I create now, but without the possibility to actually manage property sets of your BIM data. Now you will see that you have a full control for managing actually property sets. And for example, if I select just one support, you will see that has some basic information without BIM attributes. Okay, now I will run the command add property powerline sets. And when I run this command, you will see in this dialog box that we have the three sections. Actually, the first section is to add powerline property sets. And as you can see here are the options to add to all property sets or to add property sets for chosen elements, support, insulator, conductor, and alignment. In another section or second section, there is option for selecting the surface because it is also very important for infrastructure BIM projects. We know that some solutions doesn't, or maybe say doesn't yet support creating a BIM model of the surface, but we also implement it because you can also create the BIM model of the surface. And in third section of this dialog box is actually option for selecting power lines. You have option to select power line directly from your drawing, or to choose power line, which you want to add, or to add to all power lines. Let's use this command to add property set just on support and for my selected power line. If I press OK and then select my power line, actually what will be happen? In background, solution will make classification. Okay, let's minimize to be more clear for you. It will be make classification for this element, like building element, and will add property set with the name support. What it means, actually I add property sets on this alignment on all elements, or better to say all supports, with already predefined property set. If I, for example, click on insulator, there is not yet property sets. But if I go in here again on this command and say, let's add property set on insulators and maybe choose power line, I will use this one, power line 1, press OK. And now you will see how it looks when I add property set on insulators. Okay, when I click here, property set is added. The same is if I want to add on another elements. For example, conductor. Let's select on power line 1. In left down corner, you will see the progress bar and how it's adding. If I select it, you will see added property set for conductor. Let's add also for alignment, and let's choose for power line 1. Press OK. And also, this is also important, what I want to mention, we also creating actually alignment, like BIM entity with the property set. Okay, you saw how it looks when I adding on elements on actually power line, but manually, like first on supports, then to insulators, conductors, and alignment. I can also add with this new feature BIM property to surface. If I click on surface, I need to press OK. Then I need to check, or better to say, select the surface, press enter, and if I click on surface, you will see that I add property set with the name surface, as you can see here. Okay, this is how it looked when I add it manually, but also we add this command for, let's say, to adding all property sets on defined power line. And for example, I want to add all of these property sets on power line 2. If I press OK, I need to wait just a few seconds, as you can see here in down left corner, that is progress bar, and it's actually adding property set on my power line 2. If I select any of the element of my power line 2, you will see already actually add property sets. Okay. I mentioned already that you have now full control on property sets, and also you can to customize it to create your own property sets, or you can do actually editing or reordering existing property set that you already have in solution. If I go in here on the command edit BIM properties, you will see first that you have the namespace with the IFC, quantity and user. And for example, if you're going on IFC, you will see that there are already predefined property sets and you can manage it, actually to edit it. Also is the same for quantity, but if you're going for user, you will see that here you have already predefined property sets for our elements that I already add on our power lines, but here you can to manage it. For example, if I go in here on alignment, you will see that is property set is defined like alignment, and properties like BIM attributes are defined like power line name, length, and supports count. For example, if I don't want to have a supports count, I can do very easy remove it. If I click remove and press OK, if you select on alignment, you will see that we now have the property set alignment without that BIM attribute. Okay, let's repeat this command. Of course, if you want to add some new property, it is also possible. I'm under the property set alignment, and here I want to add new property. For example, let's say this is property with BIM attribute, for example, designer. Label, I will also put the designer. Description, here is, let's define who is a designer. Okay. Of course, value you can manually put it, but also there are different options. For example, you can also define and let's say to have the list of the CDF, for example, to have list of designers. And if I press OK, and if I select the alignment, you will see that are now defined the BIM property designer, but also here is option to choose who is designer. For example, let's say ABC. Okay. What is also important here, if you want to add more property sets on the actually already defined properties, or better to say models, it is also possible, because it is possible to create your custom property set. How it looks, if I go in here to add property sets, just press plus, and define, let's say it is my property set. Also label will be my property set. And here per instance, in this moment I will put no, but option is to define as yes, and also visible I will say yes. When you define a new property set, it is also important to define categories, or better to say classification, because I already used the classification like building elements for these models. I will use building element. And now I have created, as you can see, my property set. Now I want to define actually BIM attributes, or yeah, let's say properties. For example, let's define it is my property. Okay, I will also put here my property. Description is not necessary to be defined. Actual value I will put to be empty, and I will press OK. Now, if I go on some element who is already predefined as building element, you will see that I also have automatically add the new property set with the name my property set, and also with the BIM attribute BIM property where you can to put your value. Okay, and it means all of the elements now have that new or additional property set. It means on the same model, same elements, you can to add more than one property sets. But also here is the option, if you don't want to have this property set, like we define my property set on all elements with classification building element, you need just to put here yes per instance and say OK. If you use these settings, now when I click on some element, you will see that again just have one property set. For example, in this support is property set with name support, but also this element is classified like building element. I have here option to just include also additional property set with the name my property set. If I press OK, you will see that this property set, like additional my property set, is just connected on this element. If I going on another pose, you will see there is no property set. Okay. With this command, as you can see, you can full option for control your BIM properties, or better to say property sets. If I'm going also here on the commands for BIM, here is also option for classify manually and also for unclassify manually. For example, if you don't want to use our already predefined actually property set and classification, you can choose the command unclassify manually, select entity and press enter. And if you select that pole, you will see that are without the property sets. Okay, let's show you the command classify manually. In this command, you have already predefined actually different elements, or better to say classification, which you can to choose. For example, here are different options for choosing for different elements. Let's, for this example, I don't know, use this basic classification and say, for example, this is the wall, and press OK, and select, for example, this support, press enter. And when you click here, you will see it is classified as wall with already predefined property sets, because property set is defined for this classification. Okay, why I want to show you this manual classification? Because it is very important. Usually, if you're working on BIM project and maybe you're getting some 3D models, which are not BIM models. For example, I will very quickly define maybe one 3D model like this. Okay. Maybe some substation or some other, I don't know, object, which is just 3D model. You can classify it. For example, as you can see that is 3D solid. If I go here and classify, for example, let's say, okay, for example, this is roof, and select it, press enter, and it will be classified, as you can see. And it means once it is classified, you can create and export that BIM model. Okay, if when you're thinking about the exporting BIM models, we also upgrade our functionality for exporting IFC models. And when I'm going here for IFC export, you will see that we add also possibility for exporting just selected entities. But let's take in this example, I wanted to export all of what I already created. Let's say, export all power lines and export all surface. Press OK, and let's say that is my example, power path with 25. Press save, because I want to show you how it looks when we already add our property sets in recorded in IC format. Also, in down left corner, you will see that it is progress bar. Actually, it opened me on another screen in just one free BIM viewer. And if you select any of the entity, you will see the already predefined property sets. But what is very interesting, let's go here on elements with our predefined property sets. If you maybe remember, we unclassified this element and there is no property set. But for example, if I go here on this element, we add our property set with the name support and also my property sets. Okay. The same is for also other elements, as you can see for insulators, you can, or conductors, you can create actually your own created property sets. Okay. If I once again repeat the command for IFC exporting, as I mentioned before, we also add this command for just exporting selected entities. This is also very important because if you want, for example, export maybe just a few entities of your power line, it is possible. I will select this one and say, okay, that is example 2. Press save, and solution will export me and open in viewer just that selected elements. Okay, as you can see. Because it is important, sometimes you don't need to export all of your models of your power lines, and now you have the option for selecting and exporting just selected elements. When you speak about the BIM features, I also want to show you our upgrade for IFC importing. I will open new drawing and show you example for IFC importing. Now with IFC importing, we support import, of course, IFC and IFC zip file. Now it's, as you can see, supported IFC zip file for imported, but also what I want to show you here, let's maybe open, before I import, I want to open this example to show you how it looks. Okay, just give me a second to be opened. This is example which I want to import. As you can see, we have here a really detailed BIM model of one steel construction. And maybe sometimes you don't need to import all of that data, all of that geometry. And that is something new what we actually added in PowerPad. If I'm going to open that IFC model, here you have the option for filtering. What it means, you can to filter actually by categories or classification, and also you have another options. Do you want to import just maybe geometry? Do you want to import geometry to all data? Also here are predefined actually profiles where you can, of course, once you created the profile, you can be saved in your solution. And also here are the options for coordination, or better to say the geolocation of that object. In this case, I will just import geometry and say import, and you will see how it looks. Why we add it? Because it is important. Sometimes BIM models are really complex. This is somehow when you want to, sometimes when you want to import just elements with maybe all of that BIM data or that geometry, and now as you can see it working so faster. Okay, when you speak about the importing from different files or different software solutions, I can go here IFC import because it's the same dialog. We actually upgraded the command for importing from Tekla SketchUp solution, and now you can to import the files with version SketchUp 2023 and 2024. Also, we upgraded the command for importing files from Revit. Now you can to import Revit family, but with selecting which family you want to import. And also we actually upgraded command for importing from Civil 3D, Autodesk Civil 3D, and now you can smoothly import the Civil 3D objects like alignments, pipe, and surface directly in PowerPad. It can be imported directly if you open the drawing, or if you want to just select the drawing and open it. Okay, let's go back on our previous example that I already created here, because I want to show you now the new command that we add here in Project Explorer. If you're going on data models, and if you're going on supports, first what you can to see if you're already user of the PowerPad, of course, we actually expand our library of the poles, and as you can to see there more poles or supports compared with the previous version. What is also important, and it is added like new feature, we add command for previewing 3D model. What it means, you can directly now with the right click select the command preview 3D model, and solution will you open 3D model which you want to use for your project. Now it is of course better user experience because you can directly open for your drawing, for your project, the 3D model, and then check which model you want to use for your project. The same is also for insulators. If you're going on right click, you have option for previewing 3D model. Okay, let's go further on new features. Actually, if I'm going here in geospatial data, you will see that we add new feature, add WMS data. Actually, what is WMS data? That is actually a web map service. And when you want to use this command, of course, first you need to have geolocated your project. If I run again this command, you will see that I'm getting the message. Please run the geographic location command and to set geographic location position. In my example, this is actually project from Slovenia, and I will use the local coordinate system for Slovenia. Define it, and I will click here to storage in drawing and also use for map grid, and I will press OK. Once you have created your coordinate system, you can go to add WMS data and you will get this dialog. Actually, as I mentioned, WMS data are web map service, and it is different from the country to country. Usually this service or some data for this service are free in a lot of countries. In this example, I want to show you, let's say, source of our data. This is for survey agency also from Slovenia. And for example, there are different categories, and let's select geology and then find the source which I want to use for importing actually our raster data. I will use this one. What I need here, if I go back on solution, I need to define, of course, the name and a link for connecting to that source. Let's press on new connection, define WMS, for example, Slovenia WMS, and define the link. If I want to use this source, I need actually this link to add there. I will put it here. And also what is important here, you need to define which server version is for this source. Usually it is written from that source. In this example is 1.1.1. And this source is free and I don't need to use my account. Sometimes if it is payable service, you need to use your account, and also here is the possible to put your account the parameters. If I click connect, you will see how it looks actually connection to this source. As you can see here, I have 3 layers for this source. It is possible to immediately load 3 layers, but okay, let's load just this 1 layer. Here on the right side, you can define image format. I will use, for example, PNG format. And okay, let's say transparent background and press add. When you add it, of course, I insert the whole area or for whole country. The source or raster data is imported from the source, as you can see. And it is very important because, as you can see, it is very simple to import all of that. I will delete it because I want to show you how you can for example, import just one part if you don't want to have the whole area or whole country. From the previous version, we're already supporting GIS data like shapefiles, but let's maybe say I want to import some shape files, for example, because I want just one area. Let's import shapefiles of my power lines. Press open. Okay, here are the additional settings in which layer you want to put it, etc. I will import it and just wait a few seconds to be imported. As you can see, I import actually shape files, or better to say GIS files of one part of Slovenia. If I select it and go to properties, you will see that now in GIS data, there are all of the attributes that are actually connected to this source or this GIS data. Of course, you have options for exporting GIS data, but as I mentioned, that is already from the previous version. What I want to show you here, for example, I have already inserted the GIS data. Now I want to just load the WMS data for this part. I will go here to add WMS data, select this connection, and here for map area, I will use this option for selecting area which I want to insert. When I press add, as you can see, area is added. Of course, it is possible to send to back and take a look the actually our source. As you can see, it is, I think, very useful to use your already existing data which you can to use for your market. What is also new in geospatial data, from the previous version, we supporting load online maps. But if I going here on the command load online maps, you will see that are new options. Actually, now we're supporting to load OpenStreetMap, as you can see. I can to load OpenStreetMaps, but also now we're supporting to load Esri base maps. If I click here on imagery, you will see that I now switched to Esri maps, as you can see. Okay. Of course, from the previous version, there is still possible to import Bing's maps. If I'm going again here on LED maps, I can, for example, use hybrid maps, and this maps is actually from Bing Maps. Okay, that is actually additional function where you can to very simple add actually again some online source which can be useful for your projects. Okay, let's go here on layout because I want to turn off just the layer for my GIS data, because now I want to just quickly show you new feature for surface. Actually, what is new now when you want to create the surface for already entities from your drawing, we're supporting now creating surface from contours and also from mesh. Also, polyphase mesh is supported. And as you can see now, from creating surface from entities for drawing now expanded with new features. Also, when you speak about the new features or updated features for the surface, we add surface, or actually we add new comments for editing surface. Let's, for example, just for better visibility, turn on triangulation of my existing surface. And if I go in here on the edit surface command, first what I need to do is to select the surface. Here are add some new tools, or better to say features. First one is to minimize flat areas. Another is remove elevation, air for smoothing. Minimize flat area, actually finding, okay, let's select this command, minimize flat area. Actually, solution automatically finding the triangles with the same elevation and connecting that triangles, as you can see here. This is, yeah, useful if you want to somehow decrease the number of your triangulation in your existing surface. Another command which we think is also really useful is to remove elevations. For example, if you have the already defined surface and you want to remove some elevation, but based on the elevation of the points, for example, we can do it from this command. And for example, let's remove all points who are above 1000 meters. When I press OK, you will see that are actually removed dead points. Another example, I will show you where it can be really useful, because now it's possible to create also surface from the cropped attachment points clouds. Okay, let's go now on the new features that are correlated to point clouds, and I will open new drawing. Before I start with the command for attaching point cloud, as you can see, first you need to save your project or DWG. Let's save it and say this is my example drawing 2. Press OK. From the previous version, we already supporting attachment point cloud and then adding point clouds, but now we worked on that to optimize that process for preprocessing attachment cloud. It means before you are importing, and after you import a point cloud, you have now more options. When you go here on attachment point cloud, that is also important to show you one thing. It is that we now support more files or more type of the files for importing. Maybe if you're already using PowerPad, you will see that are supported new files for importing, and that new files are Z+F point cloud format, like a point cloud format, Regal point cloud format, and HSPS point cloud format. Okay, when you add, or better to say attach point cloud, you need to go to point cloud manager, and here you will see that I already have added, or better to say attached the point cloud. And when I go on insert, I need to define where I want to insert. This is already geolocated point cloud. And if I zoom it, you will see my point clouds. Okay, as you can see, this is with actually default preview of the point cloud. And I want to show you what is actually new with the commands for point cloud. If you're going on color map point cloud, this command already exists, but we add new color stylization for object and also for classification. Classification is a very useful command because if you have already classified point cloud, it will be automatically actually different preview based on your classification. As you can see, I have different classification for this point cloud data. Okay, and yeah, that is very, we think, important or better to say useful command. Also, when you start to use this version PowerPad V25, you will see that is really optimized function for previewing and for editing point cloud. As you can see, it works now more smoothly. Also, we add some features for point cloud, which can be useful for you. In previous version already, it was be there already point cloud manager, but now we add render settings. What it means? Now you have the better or full control of previewing your point clouds. For example, here are options for point size. If you want for better visibility, you can increase or decrease the point size. Also, for example, gap filling. It is important because if you don't have the point cloud on each place where you want to be located there, it is possible to gap it filling. Of course, that is just for previewing. And also there is another option for lighting. Now what I want to show you is that you can now create the surface just for the cropped point clouds. In previous version we didn't have that possibility. Let's go here on Point Cloud Manager, and let's, for example, just hide that elements which I don't want to use for, okay, water I want to use, rail, yes, low vegetation, just give me a second. Okay, for example, this is somehow classified elements for the surface. And if I'm going on the command for cropping point cloud, here on the command crop point cloud, I want to show you how you can, for example, crop just one part of your point cloud data, for example, like this. Press enter, let's inside, and I have cropped that point cloud data. Why I cropped this point cloud data? Because I want to show you how you can to create the surface just for the cropped point cloud data. If I go here to create surface from point cloud, I need to select my point cloud. As you can see, it is selected. Press enter. Simplified thin surface, yes. Use these settings for simplifying the surface. How it works, as you can to see, if you use the whole process of simplifying surface, you will see how it looks. Okay, and usually you will get these results because sometimes you don't have actually the right all points of your point cloud that are classified. And here I want to show you already mentioned that command for editing surface. Of course, if you want to, for example, delete this point, it is possible manually. If you're going here to edit surface, select surface, and then remove point. But as you can to see, I have a lot of points here, and it means you have a lot of manual work for deleting it. But with the command under edit surface, if I click edit surface, selecting surface, you have a command for remove elevations. And in this exam, I want to remove all points under 399 and above 394. When I press OK, you will see how it looks. As you can to see, now of course I have the surface without that points. As you can to see, now it's easier to create the surface from point cloud, and of course it is possible to create the surface from cropped point cloud. Okay, if I'm going again here, I can turn on the visibility of all of the classified point clouds. Okay, yeah, I want to also share that information. If we're going on layout, we add actually option for printing or saving or recording your project in some image formats. We now support BPM, JPG, PNG, and TIFF for saving your project. In the previous version, of course, you have options for printing and for recording in PDF file. Okay. It was in short the main features of the PowerPad. For the end, what I want to show you more is, as you can to see, of course, already who are using PowerPad, we have a new ribbon, or better to say, improved user interface, because if you're going here in the right corner, you will see that you can to find the option for interface settings, and it means you can to change actually preview, for example, of your ribbon. Also is option for choose which actually background you want to to have? Do you want to dark or light theme? And also some another settings. Of course, here you can to show turn on or turn off status bar, command line, and yeah, let's turn to classic mode, classic ribbon. And then what I want to show you more here, let's with the labels. Okay. Also here is edit command for searching. We think it is also useful command. For example, if you want to search some command which you don't know where is on the ribbon, for example, command for labeling, for example, surface label. As you can to see when I type here the just the word for this command, all of the commands who are not for labeling will be hidden, and here it will be shown that this command is here. As you can to see, now can to easily search command of actually PowerPad or any other command for 2D or 3D design. Okay, it was in short about the new features. For the end, what I want to actually say you, of course, thank you for your attention and to join us at this webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at our email, contact@powerpad.com. Of course, if you want to try this last version of the PowerPad, feel free to visit our webpage and fill out the form for free trial, and we will provide you for a free 30-day trial for testing.